Hey guys, welcome back to another farm vlog, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I want to thank you so much for the continuous support, suggestions and phone calls. Today vlog, we look into a very important topic, a high requested subject on goat farming, cost and profit. So before we develop any business, a business plan is needed, and this business plan will definitely guide us and give us a forecast of what it is that we need to do to achieve the maximum returns on our investments. Then we have to look at the investment itself. What would be the cost to start up whatever size operation that we're willing to go into? And then we have to look at the risk factors, because there is these that will really impact our profit, will impact the operation and make it as lucrative as it is if we don't manage the risk properly. Then we also have to look at farm management, and farm management speaks to the system that we'll implement on the farm that will basically come at a cost, but at the same time should improve our operations for us to gain these profit margins that we want to acquire. Let us discuss with Sanjay from Westside Farms how is it that he conducted this process. So guys, we're here at Westside Farm, one of our routine visits to the farm to check up on Sanjay. But I want to start questioning some things that we want to look to into industry, and it's for discuss the operational costs for farmers. You know, what are the major financial challenges farmers face, and we just want to basically educate everybody on what we have to look on when budgeting to start a goat farm. So thank you, Sanjay, for sharing some of this information with us. I think I get these questions a lot. You know, what's the cost to run a goat farm? So Sanjay, just give us what's your operation size, what it's like, the amount of breeding females you have on the farm.
Alright guys, Sanjay again from Westside Farm. Yes. Operational costs for goat rearing or livestock and all. It's very important, and I think every farmer, anybody seeking to going into the business should have a business plan or look at the financial part of it, because you don't want to, goat is a thing, or even any animal. If you have a passion for it, you will be losing, you're operating at a loss and you don't even know. So first thing, you have to have a business plan. My size of my pen is 16 by 58 feet long, right? Currently, I'm trying to house at least 40 to 35 mothers, right? Breeding females. Currently, I'm at 30. 30, right? The main cost you will find when it comes to goat operation, firstly, is the housing. Some people go timber, which is expensive, because I think you can find like other alternative that will reduce the cost, because you need a reduction in cost so you can always make a greater profit or even break even. Because like any business starting out, maybe for the first 2 or 3 or 4 years, you won't be making any money. Basically, the business will be maintaining itself as it grows, and you will just basically balancing out. So the housing is a key factor, right? As I always tell farmers what link me why to build a house is expensive, what can I do? I said, find some new zinc, find a lumberman that plant up tree and buy the board from him instead of going to the hardware. That is more expensive. Use wood, round wood like what I purchased on the roads and stuff. So housing is one.
Guys, if you remember, I did a vlog already on the cost of building a goat house in Jamaica. We looked at the 2 different types. We looked at the slotted floor built out of lumber and a slotted floor version using the pallet system. And we found that using the pallets is a bit cheaper. And we also showed farmers how they can make the operation cheaper by using different sources of roofing material, etc. So check it out.
And even now, Khalil, as you can see, the sector is booming. Like everybody wants to be a farmer, so you have some very high price as it relates to goat, the purchase of livestock animals. And while we don't dictate our set price for persons, because I think it's a economical strategy. So it's demand and supply. So while the demand is greater, then the supplier has the advantage to ask whatever he think is suitable for his animal. So it's up to the person who is buying now, the customer, to go and educate himself and say, is this animal really worth X dollars or so. You can't really dictate or speculate, because a man can ask anything, but it's up to you now, as the person who is buying, to go and do your research or educate yourself. Is that goat really value that? But would it be profitable for me investing so much in a goat? Would it turnover itself, would I be able to gain back certain money over a period of time from purchasing this goat? So you have to ask yourself those questions as it pertains to making financial sense and setting your budgets and those stuff.
My question to you, you have a choice between focusing on genetics. So for beginning farmers, they definitely look into the costs to acquire these animals to start up their farm. I look at it to say we're looking at an operation of about a 50 head unit, so you have 50 females and 2 males, and based on my calculation, this can cost you up to $2.8 million. The live weight for goats about $495 per pound, so probably one female would probably get you at 35 to 45k, and you know the bucks might run you from 70k up to $120,000.
Every day, feeding is the next aspect of it. When I say feeding, I'm talking the concentrate and hay, because how I run my operation, I have a semi-intensive care operation, meaning I don't really let out my goats as often as those who graze. Like for a month I will don't let out the goat, 2 months, maybe once for the 2 months. So I depend on hay and also green grass and those things around me. Feeding, which is the concentrate aspect, since this year the whole corona and the pandemic worldwide, feeding is on a cost because they say shortage of soya bean and corn, which you know Jamaica import that to formulate their feed. So since here we are seeing an increase in feeding frequently, so that's a major aspect also that pertains to cost. And then the third thing is your labor costs. An operation, and you have to facilitate your labor costs. If you have to fuel your truck to go get grass or get feeding, your workers, etc. So all of those things, you have to facilitate those things and say, for a month, how much does it cost you to properly run or execute your operation, right? So take for instance then, each month it costs you roughly 60,000. We're just working with figures. 60,000 for your labor costs and your feed. We are just working with like 20 animals. So for the month you can pay your staff and feed the 20 animals out of your 60,000. Right? So you have to factor in that, you know, say the 60 times 12 now will give you your yearly cost. So you then have to divide all of those by each animal and breeding female. So you know, say alright, for one goat, we need for at least a sell a kid for X to maintain the business. And as I say, as you go along, no business as you go into it, you're going to start getting returns. So as you build, you will see that you're breaking even, or the business itself is maintaining itself. But as you grow, then over a period or a lifetime, because it's an investment, so over a period of time you will start to gain back your investment. So you will have your up times and your down times, which is now things are rough, because as I tell you, concentrate price is going up there, hay price is increased, everything is increased due to the pandemic, and we are not living in normal times now because of this corona and everything. But remember guys, pen and paper, always go to your pen and paper, and remember, figures don't lie. So if you sell 20 kids, write it down, everything you buy as it pertains to farmers when you spread it, and then do a comparison and see whether or not you are losing or breaking even. So guys, remember, you have to do this to know where you stand or what need to increase or what you need to do. Because for me now, I don't use much hay again. I'm in the fields where I'm cutting and carrying and doing that. I still use hay, but it's a minimal because of the increase in price. We have to find ways to kind of cut costs. So in order to make the operation run itself or more feasible.
So guys, this is probably the most interesting topic for me, as you know, I'm a nutritionist. But however, it is also the most costly. We have to look at the type of system, grazing or the semi-intensive. Grazing might be cheaper because the animals are allowed to get grass on their own. have to look at the feed consumption for the kids, the adult males and the females, and what would be their daily feed bill. We have to also take into consideration the cost for transportation, and in some cases you might have to do outside nutritional consultation. That might come at a cost unless you're working with Hypro, where your nutrition consultation is free, which offsets that cost for you. So how I want us to look at it, let us look at the costs for a pound of each ingredient. For example, hay is about $12 per pound, concentrate and minerals about $25 per pound, and pasture, I'll have to give it a price at about 50 cents. So the cost to feed an adult can range from $25 to $35 daily using the intensive system. A semi-intensive, it might be between $12 to $14 for an adult goat. The intensive for kids might be $27 daily, and for the semi-intensive system it might be $15. And we have to kind of take this into consideration. We could use these figures now to calculate the amount that we'll need for the total animals that we have. So for this operation, we're still sticking with the 50 heads and the 2 males. So I kind of gave you the general feed costs for these animals for the year. It'll be $12,000 and $5,000 based on the system that you have. So for the entire year, a female might round you between $255,000 to $644,000, depending on the system that you have, the semi versus the intensive system. The male are between $10,000 to $25,000 for the year, and to feed the young stock for 4 months, you're looking at $460,000 in an intensive to $272,000 in a semi-intensive system. You have, I said, 3 choices to make goat farming as a business. You can either do milk, you can do meat, or you can do genetics.
Yeah.
When you're making a decision to say, well, which one of these pathways I want to make money off, or why did you choose genetics?
Alright, good question. The reason why I chose to go the genetics aspects in goat farming is firstly because of the land space that I have.
Okay.
Right? That's a main thing. Because I think if you are going to do meat, you're going to require good or sufficient land space to grow the ram them to ensure that they can put on a certain rate of a market. For the milk now, I check my surrounding, do a feasibility study. I don't have much demand for the milk. But genetically now I can, as I tell you, run a semi-intensive here, get some good quality goats, do some good record keeping, do some good breeding, and sell them, because I realize that people like to purchase like classic buck, a classic doe to start. So that's why I choose genetics, and I also have a passion for the genetics. I like the science behind it, like putting 2 animals together and see if they're compatible and the offspring and all of those stuff. Because genetics has to do with a variety of things. Doing genetics and need multiple grams, a lot of things. So I like the science and the technology behind genetics farming, but the space, as you can see, the land space capacity, I cannot do meat because I don't have sufficient land to do that.
Because meat is more a numbers game.
Meat is more a numbers game. And the milk, I don't have the demand for milk, and also if I'm going to make like byproducts from the milk, I would have to get somebody that is more diverse into that aspect of it and can be like soaps, lotion, which I don't, at this stage, I don't say in the future I won't branch off or expand into it, but presently now, I can only focus on genetics. But the milk aspect of it is something that I consider because of the good nutritional value the milk has to offer and those stuff. But you're going to need more space and storage facilities. Somebody that is a chemist, and call them a biochemist or something like that, to can put the products together and do what they want.
So how is it that goat farmers make their money? They make their money from selecting the 3 production types. You can either be a meat producer and you make money from the amount of pounds you produce at probably $495 per pound. For a breeding stock producer, he would auction his animals out. So it's more of what the consumer considers this animal to value. So his price is really determined on the market space, the demand, and if the genetic merit is worth it. Then you have the dairy producer who make his money from the liters of milk produced. That's about $300. So these are the different systems you would now employ to make that money on your investment. The next cost that I don't think we kind of sit down on is the health costs, the cost to preventative health management, and those are veterinarian costs overall. What can you say about that?
Well, that's a good point, because I think kind of overlook that still. But running an operation, whether you're any form of animal you're doing, need to have medication readily available to you, and also seek some knowledge as it pertains to like the basic sickness or health care of the animal. Right now, ivermectin and certain medication are short, right? So you know that you can't call a vet to do everything for you as a farmer. The basics like worming a goat or treating a little coon or so, you can educate yourself and learn how to do that. You can ask an experienced farmer, you can even have a dialogue with your vet, send him a picture, what he recommend and the proper dosage and those stuff. So medication is key. You have to have medication once you have animal or any form of farming you're doing as it pertains to health care of the animal. You have to have medication readily available. Because remember, the vets are human beings as us. And you cannot get a vet at your disposal or at your 24-hour service, put it that way. You have an emergency now and you call the vet might say, Sanjay, I'm at the next side of the island. So and so and so. Right? Maybe you can help yourself, maybe then you have to go to one of the private practice or find a nearest vet to you. So you have to just build a relationship and try to educate yourself as much as physically possible to address or deal with certain medication or health issues that it pertains to the animals.
Outside of feeding, the next big farm management practice is your health. So there's a cost to what I call the general preventative health, which includes your vaccination, a deworming program, etc. Then you have the emergency calls, and then you have the veterinary service costs. So based on my calculation, to the general preventative health will cost you about $450 per animal. So if you're using a 50 unit setup with young stock adults, you see the cost there for the total medication cost. With bad practices, you might have a lot of emergency calls, and I can tell you that this would increase your total medical cost by 5%. It's a variable factor. The veterinary service might be about $2,000 per animal, so you can actually use this as a guide to say, boy, if I have this amount of animals, veterinary service might cost me this. Regarding utilities, how that affect you? Light, water, have you seen an increase in like your general, like how big of an increase have you seen on your budget?
Well, we living in Jamaica, you know that JPS price raise every day. So, so basically what I do then sometimes to conserve the uses of utility, because as you can see I have light in the pen. Some nights I will turn off the lights, the inside the pen light, and leave on the outside light, and basically try to conserve as best. Instead I use some energy saving bulbs. So I use those stuff to kind of work my cost at a certain. The water rate is not so much of a bad thing, because they kind of have a little expectation to where the bill is coming each month, because it's kind of more constant than the light
bill. Yes.
Yeah. So the water thing is not really an issue, right? But the JPS, that's a killer. So you have to just try to conserve electricity as best as you physically can or possibly can. As I tell you, change out your bulb and put in energy saving bulbs. And in the days I turn off the light. I don't use the light on at all in the day. So mostly night for security purpose, and if I independent and deal with that.
A lot of farmers don't take into consideration the cost of our utilities and add that to operational costs, and that's a very bad practice. We have to take into consideration light, water, the labor costs, no doubt, manure disposal, and security. This is just some figures I got running off for this 50 head operation. You might spend $48,000 for the year on light, $24,000 for water. Minimum wage is $7,000. So if you're actually paying minimum wage, you're looking at $365,000 for the year for that one person running that 50 unit operation. Manure disposal, depending on the system that you have, might play a part. That's probably $50,000 for a yearly cost to remove manure from your farm. Some farmers would definitely need security. It's either you're doing like probably the King Alarm or Hawksman on call, which might run your $442,000 for the year. So I have to take these into consideration. My final question to you. This one speaks to your costs regarding breeding. Right? We have to look at, say, boy, the cost of having a male on the farm compared to doing AI. I know you're a successful bid with the AI, no doubt.
Yeah.
Lovely animal.
Yeah.
But what was the cost difference like? What? Let me put it in a better way. How is it that you feel AI fits into your system? At what level you think you could maintain that cost and make it financially sound?
As a genetics breeder, then you have to look at AI because you want better your line and get improve on your local genetics and put it that way. But remember, AI is a risk, right? So you can do 6 animals and out of the 6, 1 or 2 or 3 out. So it's a risk. Having a buck on the farm, to me, my personal opinion, you stand a greater chance of getting those 6 coat pregnants. If I lock the buck in the pen with 6 doors, I guarantee you that out of the 6 maybe 1 don't hold. And if he call back, then I put him out. The AI process kind of put back your whole breeding operation and plan a bit, because remember you have to synchronize the animal, wait on it to come in to eat, you breed the animal and then wait a period of maybe 2 months. I don't remember the exact date, but roughly 2 months you have to wait to see whether or not the animal is confirmed or not. And a natural service with the buck living in, when the goat call and you put out the goat, within a short period, maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks, if the goat don't want to see him call up, because the buck is there. So I think the cost, it depends, it really depends. But AI is a good thing, but AI is a more expensive venture than investing in a natural service buck on the farm. Because if you have an operation like mine now, we have 30 animals, and I have to use no bucks on the farm and AI those 30 animals, it's going to be a tidy sum.
You remember
and the chance of me catching all 30.
That's a factor.
It's a factor.
Look at cost. You remember the cost to say do one animal for AI?
Alright. At the time, the semen that I used, it was a shoot and shovel semen. And with medication, it comes to roughly 15,000 or 16,000
per animal.
Per animal. Yeah. And I did 3, and out of the 3 I only cut 1. Right? So yeah, we have to weigh the option. But as I said, I would rather the natural buck being on the farm, because doing 30 animals and not using a buck, then you have to do the ratio thing, and you know the ratio to that is 50-50. So out of the 30, maybe 15 or less will catch. You see? And I don't know the variability or what is the cost of that not catching, but I think the professionals can better expand and elaborate on that. But to me, I think the natural buck is a better shot. Because if you...
Artificial insemination has become very popular, but we have to look into the costs it's now incurred on our business using this procedure. From my calculation, it would basically cost you $15,000 per animal if you get the semen at that price and the drugs at a pretty reasonable price, and we're not considering a veterinary cost, because we know that Hypro provides with that veterinary cost for free. So if you're supposed to look at doing 10% of your herd, this is the 50 unit operation. So you're looking at 5 animals, this will cost you an additional $75,000 in total into your total operational costs using the AI process.
Yes guys, so that is my understanding and the whole point, opinion, and it relates to the pricing factor of rearing livestock. And guys, please remember to follow me at Westside Farm on YouTube. And Khalil, it's always a pleasure you guys passing through and giving your recommendations and your knowledge as it pertains to the whole thing. So guys, continue to follow the journey, and FarmerKhalil doing a great job. Yes, and we are all working to improve the industry. Yeah.
So we're still working with that 50 unit, and we're looking at now the meat production returns over a 4 months period, where we look into the amount of animals produced. We say about 75 kids, and we're going to get them up to 50 pounds in 4 months, and we're going to harvest them. But what I want you guys to pay attention to is, why is it that we're in a predicament with farmers preferring to sell animals live than meat? Because you actually make more profit selling these live animals more than you harvesting these animals and selling them by the pound. That's a problem we face, so we have to take that into consideration. But you want you guys to look into how is it that your production system also affect your profit. We've seen more profit being made from the semi-intensive system because you have that reduction in that feed cost versus the fully intensive system. So let's take all these into consideration. Call me if you need to have this discussion, or I can present you our Excel sheet that will produce these figures for you.